Master anything faster, the real science of learning that lasts. Most people learn the hard way. They spend hours reading, watching videos, taking courses, and consuming information. They feel productive in the moment. They feel like they are growing. But weeks later, when they try to recall what they learned, almost nothing remains. The knowledge evaporates. The insights disappear. The hours invested feel wasted. This is not because you have a bad memory. This is not because you are not smart enough. This is because most people were never taught how to learn in a way that lasts. Learning is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained, refined, and mastered. When you learn how to learn, everything changes. You absorb information faster. You remember it longer. You apply it with confidence. You stop feeling like knowledge slips through your fingers and start building a mind that compounds over time. This audiobook is for people who are tired of forgetting what they learn. This is for professionals who consume content but struggle to retain it. This is for ambitious individuals who want their learning to translate into real capability, not just temporary familiarity. This is not for people who want shortcuts without effort. This is not for people who expect magic pills or motivational slogans. If you want real results, you need real methods. And that is what you will get here. By the end of this audiobook, you will understand how memory actually works, why attention comes before retention, and how simple science-backed strategies can turn ordinary study into long-term mastery. You will learn how to make knowledge stick, how to retrieve it when it matters, and how to build a brain that gets sharper with age instead of slower. Later in this audiobook, I will give you a 2-minute version you can use today to start learning faster immediately. I will also give you a 7-day rewire plan that turns these principles into daily action. And if you are driving, working out, or multitasking right now, do not worry about taking notes. There is a free toolkit in the description with every framework, tool, and checklist. You can download it and use it later when you are at your desk. Right now, just listen. Let the ideas land. Let them connect. And when you are ready to act, the system will be waiting for you. Let's begin. The problem and the real cause. Here is the truth most people do not want to hear. You are not forgetting because you have a weak memory. You are forgetting because you never encoded the information properly in the first place. Think about the last book you read or the last course you completed. How much of it can you explain right now without looking it up? If the answer is very little, the problem was not the quality of the content. The problem was the quality of your learning process. Most people treat learning like filling a bucket. They pour information in and hope it stays. But the brain does not work like a bucket. It works like a filter. And if you do not give the brain a reason to keep something, it will let it go. The system is not broken. Your approach is misaligned. You were taught to consume information, not to transform it. You were taught to highlight, reread, and review passively. But passive learning produces passive retention. And passive retention fades fast. Here is a concrete example. Imagine you attend a conference. You take notes on every session. You walk away feeling inspired and informed. But 3 weeks later, someone asks you what you learned. You struggle to remember even one actionable insight. That is not a memory problem. That is an encoding problem. The information never made it past short-term awareness. The real cause of forgetting is simple. You are skipping the steps that turn information into memory. You are not paying full attention. You are not processing deeply. You are not retrieving actively. You are not spacing your reviews. You are not connecting new ideas to what you already know. And because you skip these steps, your brain treats the information as unimportant. It files it away in temporary storage and then deletes it to make room for something else. You are not broken. The way you were taught to learn is broken. But once you understand how memory actually forms, you can fix the process. And when you fix the process, retention becomes automatic. The framework, the learning lock system. The system I am about to share with you is called the learning lock system. It has 5 parts. Each part locks knowledge into your brain so it does not slip away. When you use all 5 parts together, learning becomes faster, retention becomes stronger, and knowledge becomes permanent. Here are the 5 locks. Lock 1. Attention before encoding. You cannot remember what you never noticed. Attention is the gateway. If information does not pass through focused attention, it never becomes memory. Most people multitask while learning and then wonder why nothing sticks. Lock 1 is about controlling your environment and your mind so attention stays sharp. Lock 2, understanding before memorization. Memory is not about repetition. It is about meaning. When you understand how something works, why it matters, and how it connects to what you already know, the brain stores it automatically. Lock 2 is about turning raw data into personal knowledge. Lock 3, retrieval before review. Rereading feels productive, but it does not build memory. Retrieval does. When you force your brain to recall information without looking at it, you strengthen the neural pathways. Lock 3 is about testing yourself instead of passively reviewing. Lock 4, spacing before cramming. Cramming puts information into short-term memory. Spacing puts it into long-term memory. When you review at increasing intervals, the brain treats the information as important and makes it durable. Lock 4 is about timing your reviews strategically. Lock 5, application before storage. Knowledge that sits unused fades. Knowledge that gets applied becomes skill. When you use what you learn in real situations, the brain upgrades it from theory to capability. Lock 5 is about turning learning into action. These 5 locks work together. Attention feeds understanding. Understanding feeds retrieval. Retrieval feeds spacing. Spacing feeds application. And application feeds mastery. When you follow this system, learning stops being a frustrating cycle of forgetting and relearning. It becomes a one-way path toward permanent knowledge. If you are driving or working out right now, do not try to memorize these 5 locks. Just let them register. The toolkit in the description has the full breakdown with examples and steps. You can reference it later when you are ready to apply it. Tool 1. Attention before encoding. Before you can remember anything, you must first notice it. And noticing requires attention. Attention is the most underrated part of learning. People spend hours consuming content while their mind drifts, and then they blame their memory when nothing sticks. Here is the reality. Your brain cannot store what it never processed. And it cannot process what it never attended to. Attention is not optional. It is foundational. Most people think they are paying attention when they are actually just scanning. They read a page but their mind is somewhere else. They watch a video but they are also checking their phone. They attend a meeting but they are thinking about their next task. This is not attention. This is presence without focus. And presence without focus produces zero retention. The first tool in the learning lock system is called the attention filter. It has 3 steps. Step 1, remove external noise. Your environment competes for your attention. Every notification, every open tab, every visible distraction pulls focus away from learning. Before you start, remove the competition. Put your phone in another room. Close unnecessary tabs. Clear your workspace. Create a friction-free zone where your brain can focus without fighting. Step 2, remove internal noise. External distractions are easy to see. Internal distractions are harder. Your mind carries rumination, anxiety, planning, and daydreaming wherever it goes. These mental loops steal processing power. To remove internal noise, use a 2-minute brain dump before learning. Write down everything on your mind. Tasks, worries, random thoughts. Once it is on paper, your brain can let it go. Step 3, set an intention. Attention sharpens when the brain knows what it is looking for. Before you read, watch, or listen, ask yourself one question: what do I want to understand by the end of this? That question primes your brain for relevance. And the brain pays attention to what it considers relevant. These 3 steps take less than 5 minutes. But they transform how much information your brain encodes. Here is a 7-day mini-experiment for Lock 1. For the next 7 days, before every learning session, remove distractions, do a 2-minute brain dump, and set one clear intention. Track how much you remember compared to sessions where you skip these steps. You will notice the difference immediately. Here is another powerful attention technique. Use the 5-minute focus test. Before starting any learning session, commit to 5 minutes of completely uninterrupted focus. No phone checks. No tab switching. No mental wandering. Just 5 minutes of pure attention. Most people cannot do this. Their mind drifts within 90 seconds. But when you practice the 5-minute focus test regularly, your attention stamina grows. 5 minutes becomes 10. 10 becomes 20. 20 becomes an hour. Attention is like a muscle. It gets stronger with training. And the stronger your attention, the faster you learn. There is also a hidden benefit to training attention. When you can focus deeply, you enter a state psychologists call flow. Flow is where learning feels effortless. Time disappears. Effort feels natural. Retention happens automatically. People who can access flow states learn faster than people who cannot. And the pathway to flow is attention. One more critical point about attention. Your brain has a limited attention budget each day. Every decision you make, every email you read, every notification you process depletes that budget. By the time most people sit down to learn, their attention budget is already exhausted. They are running on fumes. This is why when you learn matters as much as how you learn. Learn when your attention budget is full. For most people, that means morning. Before the day fills up with distractions. Before decisions drain your mental energy. Before your brain gets tired. If you cannot learn in the morning, protect your attention budget throughout the day. Limit decisions. Batch similar tasks. Take breaks to restore focus. When you treat attention as a finite resource, you spend it more carefully. Common failure mode. People think they can multitask and still learn effectively. They cannot. Multitasking fragments attention. Fragmented attention produces fragmented memory. The fix is simple. One task at a time. One focus at a time. If this is useful, subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell. It helps more people find these audiobooks. Tool 2. Understanding before memorization. Memory does not come from repetition. It comes from meaning. When something makes sense, when it connects to what you already know, when it answers a question you care about, the brain stores it automatically. When something feels random, isolated, or irrelevant, the brain discards it. This is why you can remember the plot of a movie you watched once but forget the list of terms you studied 10 times. The movie had meaning. The list did not. The second tool in the learning lock system is called the meaning maker. It has 4 steps. Step 1. Ask why it matters. Before you try to memorize anything, ask why it matters. Why should you care? How does this change the way you think or act? When you answer these questions, the brain assigns value to the information. And the brain remembers what it values. Step 2. Connect to what you know. The brain stores information by linking it to existing knowledge. Every new idea needs an anchor. When you learn something new, ask, what does this remind me of? How does this relate to something I already understand? These connections turn isolated facts into integrated knowledge. Step 3. Use analogies. Analogies shrink the distance between the unknown and the known. When you compare a new concept to something familiar, you create a mental bridge. The brain loves bridges. They make learning faster and retention stronger. Step 4. Explain it simply. If you cannot explain something in simple language, you do not truly understand it. After learning a concept, try explaining it out loud as if you are teaching someone who knows nothing about the topic. This exposes gaps in your understanding and forces your brain to clarify the idea. These 4 steps turn passive consumption into active understanding. And active understanding is what creates lasting memory. Here is a 7-day mini-experiment for Lock 2. For the next 7 days, after every learning session, write 1 paragraph explaining what you learned in your own words. Do not copy the source. Translate it. Transform it. Make it yours. By day 7, you will notice that your retention has doubled. Let me give you a concrete example of how understanding beats memorization. Imagine you are learning about compound interest. You could memorize the formula. But if you do not understand why it works, you will forget the formula within a week. Instead, understand the principle. Money grows faster when you reinvest the earnings. The earnings generate their own earnings. This creates exponential growth instead of linear growth. Once you understand that principle, the formula becomes obvious. And obvious things do not need to be memorized. This is the difference between surface learning and deep learning. Surface learning tries to memorize facts. Deep learning builds mental models. Mental models are frameworks that explain how things work. When you have a mental model, you do not need to memorize details. The details follow naturally from the framework. Here is another way to build understanding. Use the Feynman technique. It has 4 steps. First, choose a concept you want to learn. Second, explain it in simple language as if you are teaching a child. Third, identify where your explanation breaks down. Fourth, go back to the source and fill in the gaps. Repeat until your explanation is clear and complete. This technique was used by Richard Feynman, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. He understood that true mastery is the ability to explain complexity simply. If you cannot explain something simply, you do not understand it deeply enough. Understanding also requires patience. Most people want instant comprehension. They read something once and expect to understand it fully. But deep understanding takes time. It requires multiple exposures. It requires thinking. It requires wrestling with ideas until they click. Some concepts take days to understand. Some take weeks. Some take months. The timeline does not matter. What matters is the process. As long as you are asking questions, making connections, and building meaning, you are moving toward understanding. And understanding is what creates permanent retention. Common failure mode. People rush through content without pausing to process it. They want to finish the book, finish the course, finish the video. But learning is not about finishing. It is about absorbing. The fix is to slow down. Spend more time processing and less time consuming. Tool 3. Retrieval before review. Here is a fact that will change how you study forever. Rereading does not build memory. Retrieval does. When you reread a page, your brain recognizes the words. Recognition feels like understanding. But recognition is shallow. It does not strengthen memory. Retrieval, on the other hand, forces your brain to reconstruct the information from scratch. And reconstruction is what builds durable memory. The third tool in the learning lock system is called the retrieval practice method. It has 3 steps. Step 1. Close the book. After reading a section, close the book. Do not look at your notes. Do not reread. Just try to recall what you learned. Write it down or say it out loud. This feels harder than rereading, but hard is effective. The effort is what strengthens the memory. Step 2. Test yourself regularly. Most people avoid testing because it feels uncomfortable. But testing is the fastest way to lock in knowledge. Use flashcards, practice questions, or self-quizzes. The more you retrieve, the stronger the memory becomes. Step 3. Embrace difficulty. If retrieval feels easy, the memory is already strong. You do not need more practice. If retrieval feels difficult, the memory is weak. That is where you should focus. Difficulty is not failure. Difficulty is the signal that your brain is upgrading. These 3 steps turn passive review into active training. And active training is what creates permanent retention. Here is a 7-day mini-experiment for Lock 3. For the next 7 days, every time you finish reading or watching something, close the source and write down everything you remember. Do not peek. Just retrieve. Then compare your recall to the original. By day 7, your retrieval speed will have doubled. Here is what the science says. When you reread a page, your brain uses recognition memory. Recognition memory is weak. It gives you the feeling of knowing without actually building strong recall. When you retrieve information from memory, your brain uses active recall. Active recall is powerful. It rewires neural pathways and makes memories more accessible. Studies show that students who test themselves remember 50% more than students who reread. And the gap widens over time. After 1 week, retrieval practice produces 3 times better retention than passive review. After 1 month, the difference is even more dramatic. This is called the testing effect. Testing is not just a way to measure what you know. Testing is a way to strengthen what you know. Every time you retrieve information, you are reinforcing the memory. You are telling your brain, This is important. Keep this accessible. Here is a practical way to apply retrieval practice. Use the blank page method. After learning something, grab a blank page and write down everything you remember. Do not look at your notes. Do not look at the source. Just retrieve. When you run out of things to write, check your recall against the original. Notice what you remembered and what you forgot. The things you forgot are your weakest memories. Focus your next review on those gaps. This is called targeted retrieval. Instead of reviewing everything equally, you focus on what needs the most work. This makes your study time more efficient. Another powerful retrieval technique is spaced self-testing. Set up a simple system where you test yourself at increasing intervals. Day 1, Day 3, Day 7, Day 14, Day 30. Each time you test yourself, you strengthen the memory. Each time you wait a little longer, you make the memory more durable. You can use flashcards, practice questions, or just blank paper retrieval. The tool does not matter. What matters is the act of retrieving without looking. That is what builds memory that lasts. There is also an emotional component to retrieval practice. Retrieval requires effort. Effort can feel uncomfortable. Most people avoid discomfort. They choose the easier path of rereading. But easy does not produce growth. Difficulty produces growth. When retrieval feels hard, that is when your brain is upgrading. Embrace the struggle. Struggle is feedback. It tells you where your memory is weak. And once you know where it is weak, you can fix it. Common failure mode. People reread the same material over and over, hoping repetition will make it stick. It does not. Repetition without retrieval creates the illusion of knowledge. The fix is to replace rereading with retrieval. Close the book and recall. Midpoint recap. Let me pause here and summarize what we have covered so far. You are not forgetting because your memory is broken. You are forgetting because you were never taught how to encode information properly. The learning lock system fixes that. Lock 1 is attention before encoding. Remove distractions, clear your mind, and set an intention before learning. Lock 2 is understanding before memorization. Ask why it matters, connect it to what you know, use analogies, and explain it simply. Lock 3 is retrieval before review. Close the book, test yourself, and embrace difficulty. If you only do one thing from this audiobook, do this: replace rereading with retrieval. Stop highlighting and rereading the same pages. Start closing the book and forcing your brain to recall. That one shift will double your retention in a week. Now let me remind you of something important. If learning has felt hard, if retention has felt weak, if you have struggled to remember what you study, you are not broken. The system you were using was broken. You are capable of learning faster and remembering longer. You just needed the right tools. And now you have them. Quick reminder, the toolkit in the description has all 5 locks broken down step by step. You do not need to memorize this while listening. Just let the ideas land. The toolkit is there so you can revisit this without rewinding. Now let's move into the second half. The next 2 locks are about timing and application. These are where knowledge becomes permanent. Tool 4, spacing before cramming. Here is a question. Would you rather remember something for a week or remember it for a lifetime? Most people choose lifetime retention. But then they cram. They study everything in one intense session, pass the test, and forget it all a week later. Cramming works for short-term recall. It does not work for long-term memory. If you want knowledge to last, you need spacing. Spacing means reviewing information at increasing intervals over time. Day 1, Day 3, Day 7, Day 14, Day 30. Each time you review, the memory gets stronger. Each time you wait a little longer before reviewing, the brain treats the information as more important. The fourth tool in the learning lock system is called the spacing schedule. It has 3 steps. Step 1, review within 24 hours. After learning something new, review it within 24 hours. This first review catches the information before it fades. It tells your brain, this matters. Keep it. Step 2, review again in 3 days. The second review happens 3 days later. By this point, you have started to forget. That is good. When you retrieve information at the edge of forgetting, the memory becomes more durable. Step 3. Review again in 1 week, then 2 weeks, then 1 month. The intervals keep growing. Each time you retrieve, the memory strengthens. Each time you wait longer, the brain integrates the information deeper. This is not complicated. You do not need special software. You can use a calendar, a notebook, or a simple reminder system. The tool does not matter. The timing does. Here is a 7-day mini-experiment for Log 4. Choose one concept you want to remember long-term. Review it today. Review it again in 3 days. Review it again in 7 days. By the end of the week, that concept will be locked in. The science behind spacing is rooted in how the brain consolidates memory. When you first learn something, it goes into short-term storage. Short-term storage is temporary. It holds information for minutes or hours, not days or years. To move information from short-term to long-term storage, the brain needs time and repetition. But not just any repetition. The brain needs spaced repetition. Spaced repetition means reviewing at intervals that align with the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve shows that memory decays rapidly at first, then more slowly over time. If you review right before you forget, you interrupt the decay and strengthen the memory. This creates a paradox. The best time to review is when you have started to forget. If you review too early, when the memory is still fresh, the review has little impact. If you review too late, after you have completely forgotten, you are relearning instead of reinforcing. The sweet spot is right at the edge of forgetting. That is where retrieval requires effort. And effort is what makes memories durable. Here is a practical spacing schedule you can use. After learning something new, review it within 24 hours. This first review catches the information before it fades completely. Then review it again in 3 days. By day 3, you will have forgotten some details. Retrieve them. This second review strengthens the memory significantly. Then review again in 1 week. Then 2 weeks. Then 1 month. Each review takes less time because the memory is stronger. Each gap between reviews gets longer because the memory is more stable. By the end of the schedule, the information is locked in long-term storage. You do not need expensive software to implement spacing. You can use a simple calendar. You can use sticky notes. You can use a spreadsheet. The system does not have to be complex. It just has to be consistent. Here is another benefit of spacing. It reduces total study time. Cramming requires hours of repetition because the memory keeps fading. Spacing requires minutes of review because the memory keeps strengthening. Over the long term, spacing is far more efficient than cramming. Spacing also builds confidence. When you can retrieve information weeks or months after learning it, you trust your memory. You stop worrying about forgetting. You know the knowledge is stable. That confidence translates into better performance in real situations. One more insight. Spacing works for more than just facts. It works for skills, concepts, frameworks, and procedures. Any knowledge that you want to keep long-term benefits from spaced review. The principle is universal. Common failure mode. People try to learn everything in one sitting. They binge content and then wonder why they forget it all. The fix is to spread learning over time. Study less per session but review more often. Tool 5. Application before storage. Knowledge that sits unused fades. Knowledge that gets applied becomes skill. You can read 100 books on communication, but if you never practice communicating, the knowledge stays theoretical. You can watch 100 videos on productivity, but if you never change how you work, the insights evaporate. The fifth and final tool in the learning lock system is called the application test. It has 3 steps. Step 1. Identify one action. After learning something, ask, what is one thing I can do today because of this? Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait until you understand everything. Just pick one small action and do it. Step 2. Use it in a real situation. Theory becomes skill when you test it in the real world. Find a situation where you can apply what you learned. Use the framework. Try the technique. Experiment with the idea. Real-world application creates feedback. And feedback accelerates learning. Step 3. Reflect on what happened. After applying the knowledge, reflect. What worked? What did not? What would you do differently next time? Reflection turns experience into insight. And insight turns knowledge into wisdom. These 3 steps turn passive learning into active capability. And active capability is what changes your life. Here is a 7-day mini-experiment for Lock 5. For the next 7 days, after every learning session, identify one action you can take immediately. Then take it. Do not wait. Do not overthink. Just act. By day 7, you will have turned 7 pieces of knowledge into 7 new behaviors. Here is the reality. The brain prioritizes what it uses. If you learn something but never apply it, the brain files it away in low-priority storage. Low-priority storage decays quickly. But if you use what you learn, the brain upgrades it to high-priority storage. High-priority storage is durable and easily accessible. This is why skills stick better than facts. Skills are applied knowledge. Facts are passive knowledge. When you practice a skill, you are constantly applying it. Each application reinforces the memory. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathways. Over time, the skill becomes automatic. Let me give you a concrete example. You could read 10 books about public speaking. You could memorize every technique. But if you never actually speak in public, the knowledge will fade. The moment you give your first presentation, the knowledge transforms. It becomes real. It becomes experiential. And experiential knowledge is what lasts. Application also creates feedback loops. When you apply knowledge in the real world, you get immediate feedback. You see what works and what does not. You adjust. You improve. You refine. This feedback is faster and more effective than any book or course could provide. Here is a simple framework for turning knowledge into application. It is called the 24-hour action rule. After learning something valuable, identify one action you can take within 24 hours. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Within 24 hours. The action does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be big. It just has to be real. Small actions create momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates more action. And action is what turns knowledge into capability. Another strategy is deliberate practice. Deliberate practice means applying knowledge with intention. You are not just going through the motions. You are focusing on specific weaknesses. You are tracking progress. You are seeking feedback. You are adjusting based on results. Deliberate practice is how experts are made. Experts do not just accumulate more hours. They accumulate more intentional hours. They focus on the edges of their ability. They push into discomfort. They refine technique. And they turn knowledge into mastery through repeated application. Application also prevents intellectual hoarding. Intellectual hoarding is when you consume more information than you can integrate. You attend workshops, read books, watch videos, but nothing changes. The information piles up, but your behavior stays the same. This creates frustration. You feel like you are learning, but you are not growing. The cure is application. After every learning session, ask yourself, what changes because of this? If the answer is nothing, you are hoarding. If the answer is one specific behavior, you are growing. Finally, application creates proof. When you use what you learn and get results, you build trust in the system. You stop doubting whether learning works. You know it works because you have seen it work. That proof motivates you to keep learning. And the cycle accelerates. Common failure mode. People collect knowledge but never use it. They become intellectual hoarders. The fix is simple. Apply what you learn within 24 hours. If you cannot apply it, you do not need it. The 2-minute version. Let me give you the fastest version of this system. If you only have 2 minutes, here is what you need to know. Minute 1. Attention and understanding. Before you learn anything, remove distractions and set one clear intention. While you learn, ask why it matters and how it connects to what you already know. Minute 2. Retrieval, spacing, and application. After you learn, close the book and recall what you remember. Review it again in 24 hours, then 3 days, then 1 week. And within 24 hours, take one action based on what you learned. That is it. 5 locks. 2 minutes. If you follow this system, your retention will double in a week. The 7-day Rewire Plan. Now let me walk you through a 7-day plan that turns these 5 locks into daily habits. Each day focuses on one lock. By the end of the week, you will have a complete system for learning faster and remembering longer. Day 1. Master attention. Time, 10 minutes. Action. Before your next learning session, spend 2 minutes removing distractions and setting one clear intention. Notice how much more you retain when your attention is focused. Day 2. Build understanding. Time, 15 minutes. Action. After learning something today, write one paragraph explaining it in your own words. Do not copy the source. Translate it into language you would use with a friend. Day 3. Practice retrieval. Time, 10 minutes. Action. Choose something you learned yesterday. Close the book and write down everything you remember. Then check your recall against the source. Notice where your memory is strong and where it is weak. Day 4. Start spacing. Time, 5 minutes. Action. Review what you learned on day 1. Notice how much you have forgotten. Retrieve it again. This second review locks it in deeper. Day 5. Apply what you learned. Time, 20 minutes. Action. Take one concept from this week and use it in a real situation. Apply it to your work, your relationships, or your daily routine. Reflect on what happened. Day 6. Review and reflect. Time, 15 minutes. Action. Review what you learned on days 1, 2, and 3, retrieve without looking. Then reflect, which lock had the biggest impact? Which one felt hardest? Where do you need more practice? Day 7. Build your system. Time, 20 minutes. Action. Design your own learning system. Decide when you will remove distractions, how you will test yourself, and when you will schedule reviews. Write it down. Make it repeatable. This is exactly what the toolkit is for. The toolkit has this entire 7-day plan in a checklist format. It has all 5 locks. It has examples. It has tracking prompts. So keep listening now, then download the toolkit and use it when you are ready to take action. Closing summary. Let me bring this all together. You have a brain that is capable of learning faster and remembering longer than you ever imagined. The only thing holding you back is the system you were using. Most people were taught to consume information passively, review it by rereading, and hope repetition makes it stick. That system does not work. The learning lock system works. It is based on science. It is proven by research. And it is simple enough to use starting today. Here are the 3 things you need to remember. First, attention comes before memory. If you do not focus, you will not encode. Remove distractions, clear your mind, and set an intention before learning. Second, retrieval beats review. Stop rereading and start recalling. Close the book and force your brain to retrieve. That is what builds durable memory. Third, application turns knowledge into skill. Use what you learn within 24 hours. Real-world practice is what makes learning permanent. If you apply these 3 principles, your retention will double in a week. If you apply the full system, your learning will transform in a month. Here is your next step. Subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell. And check out the free toolkit in the description so you do not have to take notes. And share this with one friend who is tired of forgetting everything they learn. Once they master this system, they will stop wasting hours on content that does not stick and start building a mind that compounds over time. Your brain is the single greatest multiplier of your life. When you learn how to use it properly, everything else becomes easier. Thank you for listening. Now go lock in what you learned.